because I always believe that the ability to speak and dissent in this country is a fundamental human right. And it took me a while to really come to this point to go public with what has happened to me, because I had to weigh in my family. And I decided that sometimes you have to shine a light on something in order for people to see what's really going on. Last August 2010, in the flyers it said I was visited by the FBI, and I need to correct that. I was actually visited last August by the Secret Service. And that is not something that is often done. And for information for everyone to know here, not only do we have permanent offices of Homeland Security in the Tampa Bay area, but we have permanent offices of the Secret Service in the Tampa Bay area. The Secret Service is one of the highest law enforcement agencies in the country. And the circumstances under which their visit happened are surreal in many ways, echoing something like 1984. They came on a pretext that I need to give some background as well, so you'll understand, but I'll tell you the reason for their visit. They had heard a rumor, in their words, that I was going to go to Washington, D.C. and arm homeless people to take out government officials. For those of you who know me, that seems kind of crazy. Not so much that I would try to organize homeless people, because that's a lot of what I do, but this was beyond the pale. I'll get into the details of what happened that day in a moment, but I think the background is really essential. I've been an activist both for homeless and poverty rights, as well as an anti-war activist for almost 20 years, more than 20 years. Been involved in a number of protests against the war, as well as poverty and homelessness protests, and have been involved in several of the major events such as the IMF and World Bank, and in 2000 I was at the IMF World Bank protest that followed the Seattle protest in '99. I also have been involved in G20 protests and numerous anti-war protests. I am a national coordinator now with the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign on the Executive Committee. And that role is a more recent role that I've taken on, because I have, like many of you, just been a participant in anti-war and other kinds of activist things, and then began taking leadership roles locally and regionally on these kinds of things. And in more recent times have taken a national role. I was on the Poor People's March Planning Committee for both the 2004 and 2008 Republican conventions that you heard this lady speak of her involvement. We were in Minneapolis as well and helped organize the Poor People's March with the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign. So in recent years, I've taken a more national role in addition to participating and organizing at a local and regional level. Within the recent 2 years that I've become involved at a national level, several things have happened to me, and this is important background. When I decided to be part of the National Committee of the Poor People's Campaign, numerous things started to happen to me. For instance, I was, and many of y'all are familiar with these kinds of things happening. My computer crashed several times. My accounts were messed with. And then I started getting visits, and local police have always known about me. We've always had kind of a friendly adversarial role. But I started getting stopped by the police randomly, and in 3 cases, after I had left the African American community, in a particular part of town, I was stopped by law enforcement that were members of vice and narcotics, but also anti-terrorism police locally. And they proceeded to search my car illegally, and this happened in 3 instances, one of which was just a block away from my children's home. I'm divorced and I was going there to pick them up. And it was a block away from my kids' home, so the whole neighborhood saw it, which was a source of embarrassment to my kids. They searched me, they searched my car, and asked if I had any weapons in the trunk, and was a member of any terrorist group. Those things happened about a year prior to what happened last August, maybe a little longer. And at that point, I was on the National Committee of the Poor People's Campaign. Last summer, in addition to all these various harassment things and computer crashes, people stopping me, or cops stopping me, and accounts being messed with, while I was out on the Poor People's March, which we had a march from New Orleans to the U.S. Social Forum in Detroit, my car, I didn't have it with me on the march, was parked in the church parking lot where my office is, was firebombed. The police to this day have not given me any explanation or any further investigation. The only call that I ever received was from the fire marshal, just telling me that, and telling the church they had left a message there what happened. Then in August, as I mentioned, the Secret Service visited me. Initially, they couldn't find me because I was driving around doing what I normally do with the work I do. So their initial visit was to my ex-wife at her work. They visited her in the middle of the day, and over the intercom, personnel called her name, saying the Secret Service was here to see her. She, of course, thought it was someone playing a prank on her at first. They proceeded to question her about whether I was a violent individual and various other things. And unfortunately, we have a good relationship, so it wasn't anything negative to say. Then they proceeded to visit my brother at his work. Now, you gotta understand, my brother is a veteran of the Vietnam era, and he's mentally ill, and he's got post-traumatic stress disorder. So he was very freaked out by this. And when they finally tracked me down, of course they've been calling me on the phone, and I have a tendency to not answer those phone calls that don't reveal the number. I did pick it up. They asked if I would meet with them, and I was trying to figure out, I was shocked, I was freaked out. When I agreed to meet with them, I met with them at the church where I was working out of. I couldn't get a hold of an attorney or anyone there to be present, so I had a couple friends waiting for me outside in their car. They wouldn't let them in to observe, so I had no one there to observe. 3 officers, Secret Service, proceeded to interrogate me. Among the questions they asked was my political activity, what was I doing at the G20 last summer, the year before, and am I going to Washington at all? And then they proceeded to ask me this question about, am I going there with the intent of arming homeless people to take out government officials? I almost laughed when they said that because it just was so surreal. After asking me these questions, they of course gave me their card, which I have. And, basically, several things they did. Number one, in addition to asking all this personal information, much of which they already knew, and giving me this pretext under which to visit me, they said that they'll be watching me. They said that if I plan on going to Washington at all, they want me to tell them, if I may be going next month to a big protest happening on the anniversary of the war. And of course they would want me to tell them. I've since talked to an attorney, and of course I'm not going to because they have no right to do that. And they searched my car, they searched me, Of course, they didn't find any weapons in my car. I don't know if they were disappointed or what. They seemed somewhat disappointed. And they basically said, well, we talked to your ex, we talked to your brother, and then we talked to the local police, all of whom said that they didn't see me as a violent person. The police said that although I've been adversarial to them, they've not seen me as a violent person. Thank God the police said that. And basically told me, well, we're not sure what kind of decision we're going to make. We're sending this up the ladder. And at some point you may hear from us again. We'll let you know. They just left it completely open for them to do whatever they want at some point. And it was a very intimidating process. They really focus law enforcement at every level on trying to get you to be questioned without any other person there as a witness or legal counsel. We've since engaged in political activity and found in a recent situation where we took over a foreclosed home and established legal residency and were then thrown out by the police illegally, including our attorney who was ejected. And of course the law says you're supposed to be able to have a legal attorney present when questioned by the police, but they didn't want anything to do with it. I don't know if any of these things are related to what happened to me with the Secret Service, but of this I'm clear. They can create any kind of fabrication they want to visit you. And they can create a rumor of you doing something and use that to intimidate you. And they certainly really caused some duress to my ex-wife and to my brother and myself as well. And it made me question about whether I really want to be public about certain things, and even this particular thing. And I'm convinced, and in discussing it with the Poor People's Campaign and some of the attorneys that they work with, that some of this may have to do with my activities there and the upcoming RNC that's coming to the Tampa Bay area, because I'm on a committee that's involved in planning some of the activities that are going to happen in protest to the RNC coming here. So there is a belief that some of it was motivated by that and just plain old harassment for the political activity I'm involved in, both with the campaign and possibly with the local peace group I'm involved with, St. Pete for Peace. So this isn't just something happening nationwide or in other parts of this country. It's not just something that's happening to the Muslim community, including locally. It's happening to people here locally. There's another young man who couldn't be here originally, was going to speak as well, Kelly Benjamin. Some of you may know him. He's had some similar experiences. And one of the things that they really want to do is to try to get you to turn, to snitch, to participate in giving them information. Whatever information they think that is. And this is something that's contrary to what any of us should be doing